Okay. I think we're all good. All right. I think we're ready for the streaming of the part 9 of the Peace Wave. So mabuhay! Hello, home! So as you know, I'm Rochelle. I'm also from the Philippines and welcome to Peace Wave Part 9. I cannot be more proud to introduce the peace activities and cultural performances prepared for this part. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you the Philippines team and its regional partners for pulling this all together. And to keep the wave flowing, let me introduce to you the regional coordinator for this part, Jay De Jesus. So Jay De Jesus is the national coordinator for the In Defense of Human Rights and Dignity movement, or iDefense. He's also iDefense, a broad grassroots Philippine human rights movement campaigning against impunity, the war on drugs, and for social justice and human dignity. He is also currently the spokesperson for the True Colors Coalition, TCC. He is also a member of Teatrong Bayan, People's Theater, a cultural political organization. He was also one of the founding members of the Nuclear Free Bataan Movement Youth Network and FBM YouthNet. He is one of the conveners for Kabataan Contra Crisis, Youth Against Crisis, a broad alliance of different school organizations and student councils in 2005. He was a participant in the Committee Theater Workshop in the Philippine Educational Theater Association, or PETA, in 2006, and one of the participants, the Asian People's International Fiesta in Manila, for Solidarity and Cultural Exchange in 2011. He was one of the authors of the LGBTQIA first ever report inclusion of the Philippines NGO Beijing plus 25 report 2020. His article entitled Kung Bakit ang Social Distancing ay Hindi na Bago sa mga LGBTQI+, was included in Metro Manila's Pride feature articles and stories for the launch of their website and digital magazine 2021. He is currently a participant in the 2023 Human Rights Academy organized by Forum Asia. So to guide us and to moderate for this Peace Wave Part 9, I will turn over the Peace Wave to you, Jay.
Thank you, Michelle. Kapayapaan is the Filipino term for peace. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. You're still with us. This is part 9 of the 24-hour Peace Wave brought to you by the International Peace Bureau and World Beyond War with the theme No to Militarization, Yes to Cooperation. We're still live on their Facebook pages and YouTube channels. I'm Jay De Jesus from iDefend and True Colors Coalition. Also, a member of Phil Initiative, and I will be your moderator for the next 2 hours. By the way, Phil Initiative is made up of democratic organizations and individuals who are keen on studying and discussing not just the historical roots, but also the present state of imperialism in the face of changing world and ever-increasing tension between among global powers led by the US and that which it considers as threats to its continued economic, political, military dominance, namely Russia and China. Aside from urgent global developments, we have featured notable anti-imperialist and progressive struggles, both past and present, such as Venezuela and the pink tide phenomenon in Latin America. Past webinars also extensively dealt with big power dynamics, the US war, forever wars, RP-US agreements like the Mutual Defense Treaty, the Visiting Forces Agreement, the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, and the Trilateral Security Pact AUKUS, and even the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This whole part, under the theme, The Militarized China Sea, No to War and Militarization, is through the efforts and collaboration of different progressive cultural organizations and artists from the Philippines with the help of various artists from the region. We will be presenting a series of recorded cultural presentations, news clips, interviews, and speeches that provide analysis and calls in ending imperialist wars and militarization. But before we start, let me introduce all the participating organizations and individuals. We have Lapis, care of Gary Granada and Caitlin Casenas, Joey Ayala, Youth for Nationalism and Democracy, Zardi, an artist from Mindanao with YouTube channel Zardi Records, Baltimore Fenis, from Mindanao People's Peace Movement, Cotabato City, Mercy Angeles from Peace Women Partners, Asian Music for People's Peace and Progress or AMP3, Sining Dilaab, Teatrong Bayan Bataan, Teatrong Bayan NCR, Partido Manggagawa or Workers' Party, Artists Movement Against War, Nuclear Free Bataan Movement, Kilusan para sa Pambansang Demokrasya, Young Workers League and Workers for People's Liberation, Pangisda Pilipinas, and Teatro Fernandino. We would also like to thank Manggagawa ng Komunikasyon sa Pilipinas for the use of the reunion facilities for rehearsals and recording. Also thanks to City of San Fernando LGU for the use of Heroes Hall for rehearsals, recording, and editing. We'd also like to thank LG Malang, Rafael Musni, and Rico Bunao for documenting and editing Kinatay Katay. And lastly, we'd like to thank Shervin of Pangisda, Aiwe, and Enrique of YND Bataan, Eugene of YWL for AVP editing and rendering. And now we begin. Let's kickstart part 9 with a poem from Amado V. Hernandez, a poet and labor leader who's known for his activism and criticism of social injustices. The poem Kung Tuyo Na Ang Luha Mo Aking Bayan by Amado is a poem that serves as a reminder from the victims of oppression and injustice. It also serves as a reminder of the atrocities and oppression the people suffered and continue to suffer. It reminds everyone that our tears, our fears, and sufferings must be our motivation to continue to struggle for our rights and freedom. Let's all now watch the first segment.
Luha ka, aking bayan. Buong lungkot mong iluha.
Ang kawawang
kapalaran
ng lupain kawawa. Lumuha ka
ng sambuntong
kasawiang
nagtalakot na sa'yo'y pampahirap sa banyagay pagpalusog ang bandilang sa gisag mo'y lukog ng dayong bandila. Patilikan inanamoy usamos ng ibang wika. Lumuha ka habang sila ay palalong nagdiriwang sa libingan ng maliit. Ang malaki may libangan. Ang lahat kong kayamanay kamal-kamal na naubos. Ang lahat kong kalaya ay sabay na natapos. Lumuha ka kung sa puso
ay
ay nagmaliw na ang layon. Kung ang bulkan sa dibdib mo ay hindi na umuungol, kung wala nang maglalamay sa gabi ng pagbabangon, lubuha ka ng lubuha. Maglaya mo'y nakamuro.
May araw din
May araw din ang luha mo'y magsasain ba tutuyo? May araw din di na luha sa mata mo'y mabubugto. Ang dadaloy kundi apoy, at apoy na kulay dugo. Samantalang ang dugo mo ay aserong kumukulo. Sisigaw ka ng buong giting sa liyab ng limong salo, at ang lumang tanikalay lalagutin mo ng pulo.
Patriot missile launch is a very loud thing, loud and forceful.
Hopefully, you'll never forget hearing the sound of a Patriot missile going off. Patriot missiles are big, they can be expensive, but they're absolutely lethal.
I'm at a naval base on the South China Sea at this year's Balakatan, the annual combined military exercises between the US and the Philippines. Balakatan means shoulder to shoulder in Tagalog, and the 2-week-long training is meant to strengthen ties between the longtime allies. More than 12,000 American troops are in the country for this year's exercises, which include drills like shooting down target drones over the South China Sea.
You can tell folks are pretty proud of the results of their hard work and what they got to do today.
But the star of today's exercise is this, the Patriot, the Army's most advanced air defense system, designed to shoot down enemy missiles. Today was the first time it was ever fired in the Philippines.
It's absolutely amazing that we've done it. Just the physical act of doing it itself is a tremendous readiness benefit.
I hear the word preparedness and readiness a lot. What are you guys getting ready for?
Well, you know, our job as soldiers is to be prepared to fight and win our nation's wars if required to do so.
This year's Balakatan is happening amid rising tensions between the US and China as the two superpowers vie for dominance in the Pacific. There are basically two things the US says it's worried about when it comes to China in the Pacific. First, there's China's sweeping claims over the South China Sea, parts of which Filipinos call the West Philippine Sea. It's a vast, important waterway that's rich in oil, gas, and fisheries. For years, China has been entering waters claimed by the Philippines. The U.S. says it's prepared to come to its allies' defense.
The United States remains ironclad in our commitment to the defense of the Philippines, including the South China Sea.
And then there's Taiwan, the nearby island that has been independently governed for decades, despite China's claim to it. China has warned it will treat any moves by the Taiwanese to claim independence as grounds for an invasion. The U.S. officially recognizes Taiwan as part of China. But despite that, President Biden has said the U.S. would come to Taiwan's defense.
U.S. forces, U.S. men and women, would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion.
Yes.
Against the backdrop of all this, and just a few weeks before the combined exercises, the Philippines announced it will allow the U.S. military to expand its footprint. That means there could soon be the largest number of American troops here in 30 years.
ginagawa lamang natin ay patuloy natin na pinapatibay natin ang depensa ng ating teritoryo, ang pagdepensa ng Republika.
It's an expansion of an existing mutual defense treaty from 2014 known as EDCA. EDCA initially granted American troops access to these 5 Philippine bases. Now, the U.S. will have access to 4 more bases, conveniently, mostly located facing either Taiwan or the South China Sea. Chinese leaders see this and other recent actions by the U.S. as provocation.
如果美方不踩刹车，继续沿着错误的道路狂飙下去，脱轨翻车，陷入对抗冲突。
What message do you think these exercises and firing a Patriot missile, what message do you think this is sending to China?
Regardless if it's China or others, I hope that this demonstrates that we are training, we are prepared to operate with a range of partners and allies. If called to do so, we're going to send Patriot missiles downrange, and we're going to do it at the direction of others.
Since we returned from the Philippines, the U.S. and China have engaged in high-level talks in an attempt to stabilize ties. But the military told us that doesn't change their readiness plans. Another first for Balikatan was this: the bombing and sinking of a mock enemy ship in the South China Sea, a spectacle recorded on military surveillance drone.
Good hit.
On the same day, I traveled 50 miles up the coast of where this bombing was happening to meet with locals who oppose such war games.
They are not welcome here. This is our country. This is not just a battlefield for practice, for wars.
I'm on a boat with a group of local Filipino fisher folk who are protesting the increased U.S. military presence here in the Philippines, saying it's directly impacting their livelihood.
They've been banned from fishing in the sea for several days during Balikatan, a significant setback considering fisher folk are the poorest segment of Philippine society.
Ang aming pagtutol ay hindi lang naman sa Balikatan, kung hindi yung pinagmumula ng Balikatan. Dapat ang EDCA ay i-review o kaya naman ay abolish na dahil hindi naman ito tugon sa kahirapan, sa krisis ng mangingisda, sa krisis ng Pilipinas.
But while these military drills are a temporary setback for the fisher folk, it's estimated that over the last few years, some have lost 70% of their income due to not being able to fish because of consistent Chinese intrusion into their waters.
Kung sa aming mga mangingisda, ang kagyat naming problema, yung panggigipit sa amin ng mga Chino.
In that sense, do you feel like the U.S. military being here is protecting you from China?
No. Ang US ang magiging dahilan para lalo kaming gipitin ng China. Kasi kapag na-trigger ang isa't isa sa kanila, ang Pilipinas ang madadamay. Madudurog po ang Pilipinas, madudurog ang buhay ng mamamayang Pilipino, masisira ang ating kalikasan.
Our sovereignty, our freedom, our democracy, our lives, our natural resources are affected by all this.
But recent surveys show that actually, a majority of Filipinos do side with the U.S. over China, a sentiment we repeatedly heard from people throughout the country.
I want U.S. military here in the Philippines.
The U.S. military has historically poured millions into the local economy and provided tens of thousands of jobs. That's significant in a country where almost 1/5 of the population lives under the poverty threshold.
Philippines-U.S. relationship, it's good.
For the past centuries, it's the United States that's been there for us.
But let's unpack that. Because many Filipinos, like those who were protesting outside the country's Department of National Defense the day Balikatan started, say the U.S. has historically exploited the Philippines.
U.S. imperialist, #1 terrorist!
Kasi ayaw namin na ma-sweep na lang under the rug. In all but name, the Philippines is a neo-colony of the United States.
In 1898, the Philippines became one of the first U.S. colonies after being purchased from Spain for $20 million following the Spanish-American War. The U.S. wanted the archipelago nation for its natural resources and strategic location in the Pacific. The U.S. had promised the Philippines its freedom in exchange for helping them defeat Spain, but the U.S. broke that promise and instead occupied the islands and waged a brutal war that killed an estimated 200,000 Filipino civilians. What came next was what President William McKinley called benevolent assimilation. American school teachers were sent en masse to the Philippines and set up a public school system that taught English and American history. In 1946, after almost 50 years, the Philippines gained its independence. But with freedom came a caveat, that the US could continue to station its military there rent-free. Throughout the 20th century, the US military used the Philippines as a launching pad to conflicts like the Korean and Vietnam Wars. Subic Bay Naval Station and Clark Air Base became two of the largest American overseas military bases. They also became the sites of untold environmental tragedies and seedy red light districts that contributed to the abuse of Filipino women.
We have seen and have heard about the stories of women who have been raped and murdered because of American soldiers who want to experience pleasure after their work.
By 1991, anti-US protests had ramped up, and the Philippine Senate voted not to renew the US military's lease, shutting down the bases. But various treaties signed by the two countries in later years kept the US presence alive, but at a fraction of its former size. American troops today train at a handful of bases managed by the armed forces of the Philippines. And now, with the new agreement, they'll be allowed at more. I'm about to call up the governor of one of the northernmost provinces here in the Philippines, where the U.S. military will be accessing two new bases. And he's been quite vocal against these plans.
I've always been against foreign military forces in the country. There are no winners in war.
Manuel Mamba is the governor of Cagayan province, which is just 250 miles from Taiwan. Even though he was against the EDCA expansion, his province will still see more U.S. troops. What's the worst-case scenario?
And when military equipments will be placed in my province, that would be a magnet if and when war would erupt.
What is your province's relationship to China?
We never had problems with them. And in every major city and major town here, we have Chinese communities. They have always been part of us too.
Couldn't the presence of the U.S. military be an economic boon to your province?
Well, there's no denying. It could. But I see a bigger boon with reconnecting with the market itself. China had this unprecedented growth in the economy in the last 40 years. We have never been part of it, despite the fact that we're nearest to them. Opportunities are not with us. Food is sometimes scarce. I'm also trying to seek out what's the best for our country.
I spoke to a Filipino governor in the north in Cagayan province that's closest to Taiwan, and he's opposed to increased U.S. military presence there because he says we have no problems with China, and if anything, this sort of makes us a target. How do you respond to that?
Well, I won't respond to that directly. I just respond to it that we don't come here absent the invitation from our partners. We hear at the invitation and with intent for a long-standing treaty ally partner.
Why is it important for the U.S. to be in this region in the first place?
A free and Indo-Pacific is important to us in the United States. It's just like it's important to a lot of folks, to include the Philippines here. So our presence, our opportunity to exercise, our ability to do things together matters in pursuit of keeping it free and open.
How do you respond to the voices that say President Marcos invited the U.S. military here and there's a lot to be gained from the United States, like safety?
That's a total lie. That's a complete lie. I mean, the U.S. has always been here, since 1901. If you want to help us, get out of our territory, off our own land, off our own seas, off our own women. Get out of our country, my goodness, you're not helping us at all.
The United States and the Philippines have agreed to 4 new additional Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreements, or EDCA, sites in the country.
The U.S. has agreed to almost double its number of military bases
and spend $82 million to upgrade existing bases.
Pagpok na kapangyarihan ng US bilang superpower ng daigdig. Malawak, umabangis ang kanyang panliligan.
Sansiglot 25 taon sakop tayo ng imperialistang US dahil sa palasukong, taksil at kapit nating mga pinuno. Nilikha ang buong bayan na bilangguan ng pagsasamantala at panunukil sa taong bayan ng buhalang tibong pandaragit. Nakalukob ang aserong mga bagwis sa tiklop nating mga balikat habang tayo'y nakaluhod sa pagkaalugmo. Ilot-ilot ng inangat-ngat ang ating lamat isip habang sinisimsim na tila alak ang ating lurot pawis. Hanggang kailan tayo magtitiis?
Today, over 38 years ago, Filipinos braved the ire of a dictator and embarked on a struggle against the Bataan nuclear power plant. On June 18, 1985, the people of Bataan and Filipinos from the other parts of the country launched a salakbayan o welgambayan laban sa nuklear. With over 30,000 Bataeños and other Filipinos marching against the nuclear plant and even forming a human barricade to prevent its operation, despite threats from the dictator Marcos police forces. Mensahe mula sa mga veterans na nakiisa sa welga ng bayan laban sa BNPP.
Noong 1974, ang mga kababayan ko ay nagkakaroon ng agam-agam, nabalita nila na aandar na pala yung project dito, nuclear pala yan. Tinago sa amin to, hindi namin alam na nuclear yan. Kaya nung malaman nuclear, nagugulo ang isip ng mga taga-Murong.
Alam nila, kano, sumingaw,
natutunan namin kay Sister Aidan na walang mapapaglagyan yung basura na napakadelikado.
Tatalakay namin ng nuclear na araw dyan. Kasi kami noon, umatin sa mga symposium, seminar na nagpapaliwanag sa scientist o doktor, pinapaliwanag nila kung paano kabagsik yung uranium, nagatong ng nuclear, pag simingaw yun, mamamatay tayo. Yun yung aming inilalantad. Para ibig sabihin ay makaisa namin yung taong bayan, makakituloy yung operasyon ng nuclear.
Bihirang-bihira yung mga may paninindigan na ituloy yung ginawa mong paglaban sa plantang nuclear doon sa maling sistema.
As a result of the strong and continuing resistance from the people of Bataan and support from the anti-nuclear movement in other parts of the country and progressive lawmakers, the BNPP was suspended, and the movement against it paved the way for the People Power Revolution that toppled the dictatorship the following year in 1986.
The Philippines' nuclear energy program. Marcos said he discussed the possible revival of the Bataan nuclear power plant with South Korea's ambassador Monday.
Pinag-usapan din namin with the South Korean ambassador, napag-usapan din namin yung offer nila at yung nakapunta na rito ng mga expert na nuclear power para tignan ang Bataan Nuclear Power Plant para makita kung ano ba ang maaring gawin. Pwede pa bang ituloy o kailangan na magtayo ng bago? What are the things that we will have to do? So, binuhay namin ulit ang diskusyon na yon.
Malaking banta sa buhay at kalikasan. Yan ang pangamba ng mga kontra sa muling pagbuhay ng Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. Kasunod yan na isinagawang pagbisita sa planta nitong Sabado sa pamumuno ni Congressman Marco Wangco, Chairman ng House Special Committee on Nuclear Energy.
Kapag nagkaroon ng radiation leak sa Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, hindi lamang sa vicinity ng Bataan Peninsula ito apektado, ngunit mag-i-extend ito directly sa Metro Manila.
Nuclear reactors do not directly produce carbon dioxide emissions, like coal-fired power plants, if one doesn't count the emissions from mining uranium ore or the construction of the plant itself. But the radioactive wastes from nuclear plants can still be harmful to the environment and people's health. Environmental advocates say renewable energy is still the best option for the country.
Renewable energy kasi it's already here.
In Bataan, a movement that started since the construction of the plant continues to oppose it. Residents are wary of promises of economic growth.
Nabugbog na kami sa ganyang pangako sa sobrang dami ng power plants na itinayo dito sa Bataan. Ilan ang mga planta namin dito na unang-una hindi naman kami number 1 priority na nakikinabang. Kasi sa labas naman ng lahat ng dinigenerate na kuryente, hindi naman talaga para for Bataan Diba? Pero kami ang nagsasakripisyo.
Bakit pinagpipilitan sa taong bayan? Sadya'y pagkakitaan ng mga taksil sa bayan, kapalit ng buhay ng mamamayan. No, 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 nuclear. No, 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 nuclear. No, 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 nuclear. No, 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 nuclear. Sa Nobel Freeman Island, pagbomba sa Japan, nagbabantang panganib ng meltdown. Sa kalusugan, pati na sa kalikasan, iisa ang patutunguhan, kamatayan. No, 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 nuclear. 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 Ito isang kalokohang hindi dapat patulan kung ayaw mong magsisi sa hulihan. Hindi dapat payagan nuklear kahit saan, malaking pananagutan sa taong bayan. Walagtoong pagpangurap sa katilingban, kaban sa gobyerno sila ray napulahan.
Kala nila hunahunaa nga daghanang nanginahanglan sa mga tabang na ilang gihikawan. Wala na ba kini katapusan ang magpakabuta bungol sa katilingban? Gusto na sa inyong pagpangurakot, wala ba bumaluoy sa mga kabos? Gusto na sa inyong pagpangurakot, wala ba bumaluoy sa mga kabos? Ngagi pangguto. Kanusani matapos ang tanan, padayon lang bang katungod nato'y atak-atakan? Inatubangay ang ilang pagpamaboy, mga walay uwaw, mga walay kaluoy. Wala na ba kini katapusan ang pagpakabuta bungol sa katilingban? Gusto na sa inyong pagpangurakot, wala ba bumaluoy sa mga kabos? Gusto na sa inyong pagpangurakot, wala ba bumaluoy sa mga kabos? Nagipang gutom sa tumang kalisod, nga gaantos sa tumang kakabos. Kamubay ana sa among posisyon, basura para ninyo, amuan ang pagkaon. Husto na sa inyong pagpangurakot, wala ba bumaluoy sa mga kabos? Husto na sa inyong pagpangurakot, wala ba bumaluoy sa mga kabos? Nagipang gutom, nagipang gutom.
Enough is enough. Enough with the greed. Did you know the US announced last Friday, July 7, it will send cluster bombs to Ukraine as part of its latest weapons package to sustain its proxy war against Russia, including East Ukraine, which is already 9 years since the US-backed coup in 2014. The said bombs had been banned since 2008, but it was found out that US, with Saudi Arabia, used cluster bombs supplied by the US in Yemen in 2016. Despite this, and the opposition voiced by its closest NATO allies, UK, Canada, Germany, US White House and Pentagon have decided to send the banned weapons. Meanwhile, the second iteration of the Cope Thunder war exercise between the Philippine Air Force and Pacific Air Forces of the US is being held at the former Clark Air Base in Pampanga, Philippines. This war preparedness exercise, which will last until July 21, also confirms that the former US Air Base in the country as the naval base in Subic is actively being used by the US. This is proof that there are now 11 US military bases in the Philippines. These two present developments, which are worlds apart, are both US moves. This further states that the present world situation is definitely too far from constructive and peaceful. Well, moving on. The second segment is divided into two parts. It will tackle the impact of war and militarism, highlighting women and youth. For this segment, we storified experiences and situations through recorded songs, dances, and speeches from protest actions. Let's all watch it together.
Dugo at pawis ang puhunan ng iluwalang sanggol, kaya't di tutugot hanggang maidulot ang bukas na ligtas sa salo. Tahan na, anak ko, tahan na. Nagsisikip ang dibdib ng iyong ina, mga kamay ko'y masdan para sa'yo ay sugatan. Paglilinis ng marumi ng ilan, pakinggan mo ang daing ng bayan. Sinisil ng saking na ilan, kalaya'y ginapos, mamamaya'y nagpupuyos. Ang sigaw, pagbabagong lubos. Dugo at pawis ang puhunan upang ipagtanggol ang sanggol. Mga kamay na laan, umaloy sa duyan, matututong lumaban para sa bayan. Mga kamay na laan, umaloy sa duyan, matututong lumaban para sa bayan.
Pagkatapos nito, babalik lang ba tayo sa normal? Sa mabilis na takbo ng buhay, araw-araw ay sugal. Silang panalo, tayo ang talunan, sa araw-araw na pakikipagsapalaran. Yan bang babalikan pagkatapos nito? Yan bang babalikan pagkatapos nito? Pagkatapos nito, balik lang ba sa dating gawin? Sa marahas na takbo ng buhay, puno ng takot at pangamba, ligalig-ligang laking kaulayaw, mula umaga hanggang gabi. Yan bang haharapin pagkatapos nito? nito. Babangon tayo pagkatapos nito.
Women representatives at leaders mula United States, Japan, South Korea, Okinawa, Hawaii, Marianas, Guam at mismo sa Pilipinas ay nagsama-sama upang ibahagi ang kanilang kaalaman at karanasan sa temang Feminist Vision of Genuine Security and Culture of Life sa public forum na isinagawa ng International Women's Network for Genuine Security at Buklod Women Empowerment Incorporated sa Columban College Auditorium, kamakailan. Ito ay dinaluhan ng mga representatives at leaders ng iba't ibang women's organizations, NGOs, university professors at schools mula Olongapo City at Zambales. Bago ang forum, nagtanghal muna ang mga kabataan mula sa Buklod, Niños Pag-asa at Preda Foundation. Isa sa keynote speaker at nagsimula ng international network na si Suzuyo Takazato mula Okinawa ay nanawagan sa pandaigdigang kapayapaan at ang kahalagahan ng kontribusyon ng mga kababaihan. Nagbigay rin ng mensahe ng suporta si Councilor Luigi Ilipumano Garcia para sa mga dumalo. Ang nasabing event ay isang patunay ng kapangyarihan ng mga boses ng kababaihan. Layunin nito na tumulong sa pagkilos ng manindigan at angkinin ang kanilang nararapat na lugar sa lipunan upang ipagmalaki kung sino sila at magsikap para sa pagkapantay-pantay at katarungan. Reporting para sa Batanggapo News TV, Denisian Caliston.
Di ako din keparu sa ingeda sa lakaw, di kalalayaman o ginawa. Lagi duta ginapay miya suwa o ingeda ke pekeroro bedin sulu akan ina o ipekedeli akan den sumiyang ako nagawe sa marawe suturugan api lumbayan kiladen aron ako makadadayan na bedemiyada maragan sa ginawa gagawi daon-daon ay ako mapipikir marawin. Di na mataoron ko kapunggura o kakit bening kuwa makabaling ako sa ingeda marawin. Taduman diri patan suingeda pilong bayan adi ketigeran o ginawa. Pagisag din so oras na diakan kelipatan suka piyay paras adan salan. Inaong ipakedali akan din sundua sumasamber sa marawe ayade apang niakan ko Allah na makabalingan ako din sa ingeda marawe maragan sa ginawa agagawi daw-daw ay ako mapipikir marawe. Di na mataoron kung kapunggura o kakag Pagning ko makabaling ako sa inged marawin Inaong ipagkadali akin din sumiyangaw na gawin sa marawin Ayadan apang niyakan ko Allah na makabalingan ako din sa inged marawin Maragin sa ginawa gagawin daw ay ako mapipikir ang marawin Di na mataoron ko kapanggura o kakag Panganing ko makabaling ako Maragan sa ginawa gagawin daw ay ako mapipikir ang marawin Di na mataoron ko kapanggura o kakag Panganing ko makabaling ako sa inged marawin Maragan sa ginawa gagawin daw ay ako mapipikir ang marawin Di na mataoron ko kapanggura o kakag Pagning ko makabaling
Stomp your feet, shake, body shake, shout out loud, stomp, shake, shout and wave. Dance to the groove, sing the verses out loud, dance and sing for peace, united communities, north, east and west, south across continents, from the ridges to the reefs, just peace we want to live. Stomp your feet, shake, body shake, shout out loud, stomp, shake, shout and wave. In streets and picket lines, to homes and halls, it's a humpy, bumpy ride, with just peace all the tide. All forces unite, arise for what is right. Nothing be left untorn. Stomp, shake, shout and wave. Stomp your feet, shake, body shake, shout out loud. Stomp, shake, it and wave. Stomp your feet, shake, body shake, shout out loud. Stomp, shake, shout and wave. System change, disarm the world. Food for the future, power to the people. Stomp your feet, shake, body shake, shout out loud. Stomp, shake, shout and wave. Stomp your feet, shake, body shake, shout out loud. Stomp, shake, shout and wave. Stomp your feet, shake, body shake, shout out loud. Stomp, shake, shout and wave. Stomp, shake, shout and wave. Stomp, shake, shout and wave. Stomp, shake, shout and wave.
Kung kaya mong isipin, kaya mong gawin, isa-isang hakbang lamang at ika'y makakarating. Tulad ng puno na galing sa binhi, ang mga dakilang gaway nagmumula sa guni-guni. Kung ang nais mo'y maging malaya sa mundong puno ng panunupil, buhayin sa sarili ang malayang paraan, at sa araw-araw na pakikitungo sa tahanan at lipunan, buhayin sa sarili ang malayang paraan. Kung kaya mong isipin, kaya mong gawin, isa-isang hakbang lamang at ika'y makakarating. Tulad ng puno na galing sa binhi, ang mga dakilang gaway nagmumula sa guni-guni. Kung ang nais mo'y maging payapa sa mundong puno ng digmaan, buhayin sa sarili ang payapang paraan, at sa araw-araw na pakikitungo sa tahanan at lipunan, buhayin sa sarili ang payapang paraan. Kung kaya mong isipin, kaya mong gawin, isa-isang hakbang lamang at ika'y makakarating. Tulad ng puno na galing sa binhi, ang mga dakilang gaway nagmumula sa guni-guni. Ang mga dakilang gaway nagmumula sa guni-guni.
Bilang ng ating sariling yaman at magpapalakas at lilikha ng trabaho para sa lahat ng manggagawa. Yun lang ang paraan para umunlad ang ating bansa, para lumaya ang ating bansang Pilipinas at mamamayang Pilipino. Hanggang pinipilit tayo paasahin sa banyagang kapital, wala tayong maaasahan, mga kasama. Nasa kamay lamang ng mamamayang Pilipino. Nasa ating mga kamay lamang at tayo lamang ang tunay na magpapalaya sa lipunan. Kaya sa puntong ito, mga kasama, gusto kong isigaw, mabuhay ang uring manggagawa! Uring manggagawa! Mapagpalaya! Mabuhay ang lipunang Pilipino! Mabuhay! Isulong natin ang tunay at malayang lipunan! Muli, isang mapagpalayang umaga sa ating lahat!
Isulong natin ang malayang lipunan. Struggle for a society free from oppression. For years, women with the rest of the world have struggled and continue to struggle for the eradication of people's oppression. Many have lost their lives and livelihood. as impacts of war and militarization in different communities, just like what happened in Marawi in 2017. The war displaced all the citizens of the city, and 6 years after, the internally displaced people still can't go back to their homes. Their struggle continues. This must end now. An ideal society is a society that recognizes and protects the rights of every individual member. As Article 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, that everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Imperialist wars and militarization defeat the very essence of these rights. Hence, our continuous call for the end of these wars and even the unequal relations between the Philippines and the imperialist US. The next cut of this segment features solidarity among peoples from different countries in the region, songs, and a very recent protest action from youth organizations, different youth organizations in front of the US Embassy in Manila. We won't keep you waiting. Here's segment B2.
Music rooted in people's struggles. Awit para sa at panig sa bayan. That is how ang P3 defines people's music.
The purpose of the gathering is really to consolidate. It's been a while since we've been able to meet face to face. So after the long wait because of the pandemic, this is the opportunity to reconvene, look at the common issues and challenges that we face as musicians across Asia, and plan and strategize on how we can respond to these challenges. If the challenge is shrinking democratic space, then one opportunity is to use more cultural, more creative approaches to express and to amplify the voices of the voiceless.
My name is Sumant, I'm from India and I'm here to play the AMP3 concert in Manila, and I'm really happy to be here. I think events like this are really important to connect music and people's struggles together, and I think musicians especially have a great role to play in promoting people's struggles and talking about the issues that nobody else wants to talk about.
Rampas semua tanah miliknya.
So, nasa banda, poetry, which ang art, para sa paghatag og mensahe sa katawhan. Ang artist movement against war, ibarog siya kontra sa gera o mga injustisya nga nahitabo sa atong katilingban. So dagdag mga injustisya nga nakita, so ato na siya gibarugan o gibabagan.
Amount organization for having this gig and for having us. And we thank all the artists here and all the international.
Daghang military basing diri sa Pilipinas sa Subic, sa Clark Air Base o sa Lapu-Lapu, Mactan o na Air Base dito. Karon na may conflict ang China o ang US. So ang battleground expecta ng Pilipinas. Artist movement against war. The individuals, quadis, dengan kayo salamat sa pag-ari. Proposition is to keep us simple for right now. No, ulang untuk ito ang kumwara. Yo, the trigger from all this skin for your team and my death. But I want to come into your brother. Got to murder.
Sa mga kanta about anti-war yun, no? Dahil tanan nga gubat nga may tabo, wa man ko'y magadaog kanagot. Purong yung pili tanan. Kaya ang numero uno nga piliro na kundi ang mga sibilyan.
Pagalingan mo. Just because they have no names and beautiful faces. Wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, so you get know what's going on. Wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, so you get know what's going on now. Take off your blindfold, let's build a stronghold, the last still untold. It's not for a new world. Take off your blindfold, let's build a stronghold, the last still untold. It's not for a new world. Take off your blindfold, let's build a stronghold, the last still untold. It's not for a new world. Take off your blindfold, let's build a stronghold, the last still untold. It's not for a new world. Wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, so you get know what's going on. Wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up, come on, so you get know what's going on now.
International Peace Wave. Basta International Peace Wave. Parang isang activity na hahanap ng mga paraan na ayusin natin ang mundo na hindi katikma. So, meron kong sa meeting, bago nang naisulat ito, celebration ito nung umalis ang base militar dito sa Pilipinas. Baka man ay sa ating mga tratado, EDCA, ay sila dito lahat muna ang mga zombie. Ano talagang laro sa mundo? Ang mga lakas ay nasusunod. At itong International Peace Wave, I would imagine, ito yung parang assertion na kung ganun ang equation sana. Sana kahit yung mga maliliit yung mga bayan tulad dati ay dati mayroon movement, dati non-aligned so movement gusto ko yun, hindi tayo nag-align sa mga friends natin. Okay, pumasok ko na yung kalimunan. Nag-aawitan ng mga sasaka, nagsasalita ng tula at kanta, naghihilawan ng tagalagang pasigan, nagsasayawan ng mga mangisda, ang nangangasisugan sa mga pagawaan, naglalabasan at sinay-tuwang-tuwang. Panulitan ng malulugla, haring araw sa kanluran, pauwi na, haring araw sa kanluran. Nagkasiyahan ng mga may kabansayan, nababaihan ng mga madaral, ang mga kawal na dagat ng sambahan, ang lakas piling ng mga magagham, ang mga nagkakang guruan na likod ng balang, nagkalaysa sa isang iyasa. Palubulit na ang palubulit na, ang araw sa kanduran, pawina, sa pauwiha sa kanilang ay agla ang ibong manang sa kaluya.
The Philippines has identified the first new military bases that it will be giving U.S. troops access to. At least one of them will face the South China Sea, paving the way for a greater American presence in key locations in the region.
Para nis mga Taiwan, para nis biktima sa kalanggera,
Balik sa pag-isip.
palang injustisya. Marcos mismo!
U.S. troops out now. Dismantle U.S. military bases. Down with imperialism. In 1992, the Philippines was able to kick out U.S. military bases in the country, but their presence continued. Currently, under the Visiting Forces Agreement and the renewed Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, the party continues for the U.S. troops. Several agreed locations have put up new bases and the number of U.S. troops increased substantially. We've heard about Nicole, the Subic rape case, and as well as the murder of Jennifer Laude, a trans woman murdered by a member of the U.S. Marine. In many parts of the country, it's not just individuals, but communities are affected by the continuing balikatan or shoulder-to-shoulder military exercises between Filipino and U.S. troops. Apparently, rest and recreation for U.S. troops mean assaulting Filipino women and trans women. And while these crimes are done in our country, we do not get to hold them accountable under the unequal agreements between the two countries. We've experienced enough. Communities have suffered so much. Lives and livelihoods have been lost. Families mourned the loss of their properties and loved ones. Our last segment provides challenges and calls from the people. Different voices, one message. End imperialist wars and militarism. We now present to you Segment C.
Mabuhay from the Philippines! I am Judian Miranda, Secretary General of Partido Manggagawa, sharing the Workers' Party Philippines excerpt of our statement during the International Trade Union Conference Against War and Exploitation. Partido Manggagawa has always viewed war as an extension of imperial politics. There were trade wars and oil wars, and behind all of them are imperialist wars, whom Lenin said will keep on dividing and rebuilding this booty. Its economic interest in securing its European gas market can only define Russia's interest in Ukraine. In the same way, NATO's expansionism was surely driven by the same imperialist motive. In a similar situation, China's militarization of the West Philippine Sea is not only about securing its trade lanes against U.S. dominance in the Pacific Ocean, but also about the control of the oil and gas deposits underneath our disputed territories, with estimated oil deposits worth about $26 trillion. And although this thing is getting played out by the recent and more flammable war provocations between the US and China on Taiwan's independence, the same can be presumed that all twists and turns considered, the Ukraine war and China-US Taiwan tensions could trigger or blow up into another world war. Again, with the prospect of more wars coming as the global recession and the fight for markets gets more intense, the old reality remains. These wars are not our wars. The working class has its war, the war against exploitation, poverty, and climate crisis. These are the wars that we need to wage within our own countries and in solidarity with others, rather than us serving as production and foot soldiers in wars that never ours. The working class must fight for system change. Our first duty is to raise the consciousness and combat experience of the greatest number of workers in fighting inequality and exploitation. The second is organizing. We have to reclaim lost power by rebuilding our capacity through painstaking organizing efforts in trade unions, women and youth, and associations in informal labor. War has always been an instrument of plunder and exploitation. Let us not forget the fact that from the 1930s to 1950s, the Great Depression was resolved by world powers by going to war, known as World War II. History has always taught us in determining what capitalists will do next to survive this crisis. War is barbarism, which is even harsher than a pandemic, and the only antidote to it is resistance and struggle for socialism. Workers of the world, unite! Let us fight against war and exploitation. Mabuhay from Partido Manggagawa, Philippines.
Kayong sa gabi't araw ay laging nagpapagal. Kayong sa bawat oras, yaman ang iniluluwal. Bumubuhay
ngayon, diretso sa matadero upang katayin. At kinakatay mula sa bahagi ng buong katawan, maging mga lamang loob, pinag-iwa-hiwalay hanggang mga maging butot, balat, lahat.
Der Straff mit Hilfensekt! Ich kleiner Straff mit der... Meine Täter wieder straffen! Die straffen! Sie straffen!
Sa panahon ng globalisasyon at neoliberalismo, ang obrero, ang modernong alipit busabos. Ang kanilang kadena ay hindi nakikita. Ang kulungan nila ay ang kanilang lugar ng paggawa.
Ngayong teknolohiya ay mas abante. Mas moderno at sophisticado ang makina. Mga kasangkapan ay kalaban na ng manggagawa. Para sa kapital, ang obrero ay kalabisan na.
sa kutsabahan ng kapital at ng mga estado, lumikha ng mga batas at ng mga pakana upang paggaway-gawing fleksible at mas mura. Ginawang patakaran ang pakontrata ng trabaho at nilikhang kaswal ang hanap buhay. Binasag ang organisasyon ng produksyon, winasak ang sistema ng paglikha.
Nagpaklas-paklas ang linya ng produksyon. Ang mga bahagi ay pinaghihiwa-hiwalay na parang hindi magkakatugtong. Nabasag ang sentidong pang-organisasyon ng obrero.
Nalabusaw ang masinop na sistema pag-iisip. Di magkakaugnay yung mga bagay.
Walang relasyon sa isa't isa ang mga bahagi. Walang mga bahagi ang isa ng kabuuan.
Walang mga yugto ang bawat proseso. Walang mga proseso.
Ang gawa ko ay gawa ko lamang. Ang gawa mo ay gawa mo lang. Walang kolektibong pagtutulungan sa paggawa at paglikha.
Bagay ang trabaho esensyal at kailangan ay kinalas sa organisasyon ng produksyon at ang mga bahagi ng linyang paglikha at ang mga peras na kilalas sa tuhog ng kwintas.
At inihagis sa gutom, masisibang mga baboy at pinag-agaw-agawan at nilamog bubo ng mga gutom sa tubo, masisibang baboy na kontraktor at serye ng subkontraktor, sub-subkontraktor, sub-sub-subkontraktor.
Ang malaking hukbo ng mga walang trabaho ay ikinuran sa mga ahensya ng pangungontrata,
mga supplier ng mura,
at mahamong lakas sa paglikha. Ipiniprenda ang mga
lakas, isip, bituka, lahat!
Sa mga pabrika at mga kumpanyang sakim sa tubo, nang di aabot sa 6 na buwan o mas maikli pa, para masigutan ang batas sa 6 na buwang tuloy-tuloy na paggawa na nagbibigay sa obrero ng karapatan na maging regular.
Ang skema ay pumipilay, lumulupo sa paggawa.
Nagpakamlay sa pag-organisa ng mga unyon. Nagpalupaybay sa kilusang welga.
At nagpalugmok sa mga pag-aaklas.
Nag-aagawa ng mga anak pawis sa kukonting hanap buhay. Nagsisikuhan sa pag-uunahan. Naglalabanan na matanggap. Nagpapausayan sa mga natanggap para mapabilang sa bagong kontrata. Bawat isa'y magpapakahusay sa eskema ng ebalwasyon ng performance.
Nagpapakasimaan sila! Nagpapakasipag! At nagpapakahusay!
kahit pa sumobra sa oras, kahit pa walang bayad ang overtime,
Nagpapakasipag at nagpapakahusay sa pagkakusamos sa kapitalista!
Mabuti nang may trabaho kaysa wala. Parang regular na rin kapag regular ang kontrata. Kahit wala nang ano pa mang karapatan o benepisyo ng isang regular, kailangang mabuhay.
Buuin sa grupo ng obrero ang mga dating magkakasama sa linya ng trabaho para makonsolida ang mga kasanayan sa isang grupo, ang mga manggagawa na, ang mga kontrata, ang makikipagtawaran ng presyo sa mga kapitalistang kakailanganin ang kanilang serbisyo.
Sinong makapagsasabi na baka madali pa nila ang pinakamabuting termino sa kontrata?
Social Organization Union is the name of the game.
Bakit tatawaging unyon ang pagpapakasangkapan sa kapital? Ang kolektibong pagpayag sa manipulasyon ng iba yung pagtutubo at tahasang makauring pagkakalulo. Nasaan ang ideolohiya ng proletaryo? Anong nangyari sa paninindigan ng proletaryado at matapat na paglilingkod sa uri?
Tulad ng katawan na kinatay, ng linya ng paglikha, na nagbulat sa manggagawa, at lumikha sa kanya ng proletaryado.
Natilad-tilad din ang buong katawan ng proletaryadong ideolohiya. Parang kaso ng chop-chop sa karumal-dumal na krimen.
Kung katawan ng manggagawa, ang katawan din ng kanyang ideolohiya. Paano muling bubuuin ito? Magkakahiwalay at magkakaaway ang mga bahagi ng kanyang katawan. Sa kapitalistang pamamaslang, paano paliliwanagan ng mga tuwirang isip ang nag-aalborotong kalam ng gutom ng bituka, sikmura at tiyan?
Paano magtutuwang ang isip at kaluluwa na ipatanggap sa talipandas na puso na mas mahalaga ang pangangailangan kaysa lamang sa luho ng kagustuhan?
Paano mag-uusap ang lahat ng mga bahagi para sa kolektibong pagkakasundo at pagkakaisa upang buuin muli ang ideolohiyang proletaryado, proseso'y mabuo muli ang katawan ng obrero.
Sa kabuuan ng tunay na makataong pagkatao, na napupuot at naghihimagsik sa pagsasamantala ng tao sa kapwa-tao.
Proletaryado! Muli, kailangan ng pangkulturang revolusyon na mapanday sa antigo, ngayong may kalawangin, ngayong ideolohiya ng obrero, sa pandayan ng makauling pakikibaka, sa gitna ng hapit ng tubig sa unos, at dila ng apoy sa pakikihamok, habang walang humpay sa hapit ng maso, sa makauring pagpupunyaging hindi sumusuko.
Saka pa lamang makakatkat ang mga kalawang at muling malalantad sa pinakaubod ang asero. Aserong nag-aangkin ng tigas at kunat at tining at talas ng lantay na bakal.
Saka pa lang, muli, ang aserong ideolohiyang magbibigay ng patubusan sa uring manggagawa at sa sangkatauhan.
Uring manggagawa!
Upang mapagpalaya!
Upang mapagpalaya!
Uring manggagawa!
Magkaisa labanan ng pang-api, kahit na libong buhay man lang masawi. Walang kailangan kung ang magiging kapalit ay ang kalayang matagal nang minimiti. Panahon na mga kasama, ipakita ang lakas ng ating pagkakaisa.
o malasa, mga ulong tumakiba sa balat. Sa laman at sa ulo, tinatanong ba kung anong pangalan ng ulong sumambulan?
Bombang nanggagaling sa bakpak ng eroplano, pag bumagsak ba sa lupa ay namimili kung sino ang kanyang babagsakan. Kung Muslim ba o Kristiyano, binibigyan ka ba ng pundida para ikay makatakbo?
Prinsipyo ng digmaan ay prinsipiong kamatayan na walang
ng kanilang mga embargo at karahasan
Para sa langis ng Venezuela at kontrol sa Cuba, ginugol ng sanksyon ang 20 million sa Latin America.
ng digmaan ay prinsipyong kamatayan na walang nananalo. Ang lahat ay talunan, lumilikha lang ng libingan ng asawa't kapatid ng ama at ina at mga anak nila.
Tanggay ng hihimasok sa isang payapang bayan gamit bakal na paa. Umiiyak ng katahimikan, alam pa niya na nakatutok, puso niyang pumuputok. Sa pamilyang nanginginig sa loob ng tubong barko.
para sa langis ng gitnang silangan. 1 milyon ang namatay sa Iraq, sa Yemen at sa Libya at Afghanistan.
Para pagtakpan ang kahihiyan ng Indochina, 3 milyong Vietnamese, Lao at Khmer ang kailangang mamatay.
Ilang milyon ang inagawan ng mga karapatan. Nagsuportahan ng Estados Unidos ang mga kahiyadong diktador noong Cold War.
Kapatid ng ama at ina at mga anak nila.
Buhay na may bahil ng braso ay hindi kanya, kundi pag-aari na nagutos na umutas siya ng iba. Ang pulbura ng Bombay laway nang nagtalumpati, dahil magkakaiba tayo, dapat tayong magkahati-hati.
Ay sa'yo at sa kanya, sa atin at sa iba, kasayaman, kapangyarihan, dapat lamang daw sa iba. Wala sa loob ang tsuper ng mga tangkerigera, kundi nasa likod ng isang malamat na lamesa.
Ilang mga katawan na ang umilas lang sa pagsabog ng mga bomba ng mga estudyante ng kanyang sinanay. Hanggang saan nahantong ang kanyang mga proxy war?
Iyong pamilyang mamamayan ang tinataya sa panganib ng gera para paypayan ang hidwaan sa China at Taiwan.
Basyo ng bala at tunog ng kalansing ng binibilang na pera. At kung akala nyo ay ligtas na sa sariling sulok ang digmaan, sa pintuan kailan may di kakatok.
At kung nag-iisip digma ay merong pakinabang gaya ng kapayapaan, gaya ng kasarinlan, nalulungkot kaming sabihin na kayo'y nagkakamali. At kung hindi nyo narinig ay sasabihin namin muli.
Prinsipyo ng digmaan ay prinsipyong kamatayan na walang nananalo. Ang lahat ay talunan, lumilikha lang ng libingan ng kapatid, ng ama,
ng ina, at mga anak nila.
Sa mga sipa ng imperialista ngayon,
May 30 milyong refugees
55 ang internally displaced.
at 5 milyon ang naghahanap ng asylum sa buong daigdig.
Ang prinsipyo ng digmaan ay prinsipyo kamatayan na walang nananalo. Ang lahat ay talunan, lumilikha lang ng libingan ng asawa, kapatid ng ama at ina at mga anak nila.
Message of Peace from the Philippines. I am Jim Paga, Chairperson of the Young Workers League, the youth arm of Workers for People's Liberation. I am here today to deliver our message of strong opposition to US-NATO militarization and provocation, not only in Europe but also in Asia. As Asians, we are far from interested in any kind of conflict. Our region has suffered enough from conflicts brought about by Western colonization. Our countries were invaded, resources looted, women raped, and our brothers tortured. We shed enough blood to liberate our motherlands from imperialist plunder. We have long sought peace, and we have no intention of being dragged again into another global conflict between NATO and its perceived enemies. Our world today is in a dire situation, close to a social collapse. The majority of the world's population is experiencing hunger, homelessness, poverty, sickness, and climate disasters, not because of limited resources, but because of corporate greed. Our economies are left unattended by governments at the hands of private enterprises, which aim for nothing but super profit at every turn, leaving the workers and the population at the mercy of vulture capitalism. Therefore, it is not surprising to see that war lobbyists and weapons dealers enjoys priority funding while social services are left with nothing. We are here today to speak up for peace. We want to raise our voices alongside our brothers and sisters from around the globe, calling for the dismantling of military alliances and the democratization of international institutions of non-violent cooperation. Dismantle NATO and all forms of violent alliances. No to war, yes to peace.
Sa diwa ng layunin, tayo'y magkaisa. Lipunang mga tao'y itindig ng buong sigla. Tumindig sa kalisigan, tayo ng magpasya. Panahon ng makasal, ang pagsasamantala. Sa diwa ng layunin, tayo'y magkaisa. Unang mga tao'y itindig ng buong sigla, buong sigla.
Napakadali nating makalimot. Kahit pa paulit-ulit na inaabuso ang malugod nating pagtanggap. Mamunat na tayo sa kasaysayan.
Ilang libong mga bata't sanggol pa ang iiwan sa pantalan.
Dating kilo bigas ay makakabili na tayo dito. O yan, pwede yan, dapatin mo yan.
Ilang batang pinayuan ang pagkakawalang pamilya mo at pakasamin.
Anak ko! Diyan! That would hurt my chocolate!
Ilang musmos na Rosario Baluyot at kababaihan pa ang marahas na gagasain sa kanilang ng magiging hotel. Hey, hey, USA! How many women have you raped today? Yankees, go home! USA, go home! Ilang libong karaang ang isang kontrabase ang walang habas na gigipitin, lalakil, ipipiin, papatayin, kasama ang maluhay na sinabi sa lalim.
Mabubura pa ba sa kasaysayan ng mantsa ng umagos na dugo?
Ang masakit o maramihang pagpaslang. Matanda, bata, lalaki, babae.
Kalakip ang marahas na pagpapahirap sa buhay hanggang sa maghingalo sa torture.
At dalawa ang panununog sa mga pamayanan sa Budaho at Budbagsak sa Hulo, sa Tayabas, Batangas, sa Timog, Katagalugan, sa Balangaliga, sa Samar, maging sa Leyte, sa Visayas, at iba pang bahagi sa Mindanao.
Gahiblang hininga ng mga Pilipinong lumaban at nabigo dahil sa pagkakanulo ng mga pinunong nalinlang na ang mga mananakop ay manunubos.
At habang pinanatiling atrasado ang kabuhayan bansa na doon sa utang.
Binubungkal nila at kinakamkam ang ating matabang lupain at yamang mineral.
Ako si Lumeng, manggagawa.
Ako si Pedring, magbubukid. Si Pantong ako, mangingisda.
Ako si Carmen, mananahi.
Ako si Ato, driver ng jeep.
Si Lucing, tindera sa palengke.
Ako si Rosita.
Ako si Emil. Si Panyong.
Lourdes, Mina,
Tonyo. Roming. Michael.
Steph,
D-Boy. Come on. Kailangan na natin tumigo. Ngayong ang piging ng mga patrong politiko ay di napapati. Halakhak nila'y nabuuyag sa ating pananahimik. Isip natin makirot sa kanilang mga lubos at mga pagkakanulo. Bayan nating Pilipinas, nakasubo sa panganib. Sa mga digmaang hindi atin, hindi tayo ang sanhi. Humiglas tayo sa suklog ng ibong mandaragi at sakmal ng kawan ng luwal na mga pinirekyang naulanan. Iangat ang tiklog nating balikat, iluwa ang busal sa ating mga bibig, tuklapin ang mga kukong gumugulang sa ating paningin. Bumabon tayo sa pagkakalugmok, bumalikwak sa pagsasamantala at panlupin.
Sa mahigpit nating pagkakaisa at marugdog na baikibaka, makakamtan ang tunay na kasarinlan at demokrasya.
Para sa Pilipinas, ating inang bayan, kapit-kapit bisig, sagupin natin siya, kadambuhalang ibong mandaragit.
Ang imperialismo na ang lagi at laging kahulugan ay gera, gutom at kahirapan, naghahasik ng dugo't kamatayan.
Saan man magpugat at mamayagpag, para sa solong kapangyarihan na ang sakripisyo ay sangkatauhan.
Sa ating pagbangon sa pagkabusabos, kapanalig natin ang mamamayan ng mundo, kasama sa marcha ang mga anak tawis ng daigdig, sa pagbabawas ng imperialismo.
Tayo papayag na mangyari ang ganito. Di tayo papayag habang buhay ay nakalmo. Di tayo papayag, di tayo papayag, di tayo papayag. Pang-aalipin, dapat natin malaman na ang sandata ay sa bagay na mahalaga sa limbaan. Hindi ito ang bagay na mapagpasya ang mga mamamayan, hindi ang mga bagay ang mapagpasya.
Di tayo papayag. We won't allow. Our history showed us that we can champion our rights and unite to struggle for freedom. We were able to kick them out before, and we can again. As we move towards the end of Part 9, Phil Initiative would like to share our solidarity statement with the rest of the world. Let me just share the PowerPoint presentation. Fight war, Fight Imperialism. Phil Initiative Message, Second Global Peace Wave, July 9, 2023. The world has never known peace since the birth of capitalism. With the emergence of imperialism, the world was embroiled in two wars and many wars of aggression and intervention. The world was divided and re-divided. The last World War unleashed a superpower that nuclear bombed a defeated enemy to inaugurate its global hegemony. To keep its global dominance, imperialist USA has launched hundreds of wars of aggression, military intervention, subversion of governments, assassinations, and subterfuge since the end of World War II. It is the only superpower that has 800 military bases worldwide and military commands in every region of the world. It leads the NATO, which despite the original reason for being gone, continues to expand towards the borders of Russia and now at war with it. Ukraine is the proxy. This US-NATO proxy war is bringing the world closer to greater war. While at this, the US is provoking war against China, which it points to as its principal enemy. Preparing for this, the US initiated AUKUS, Australia, UK, US, and is pushing for the extension of NATO into Asia. The US also reaffirmed and ratified security and defense agreements with the Philippines, South Korea, Australia, and Japan. With the additional 4 bases, the US already has 9 military bases in the Philippines, excluding Subic and Clark. This is the result of the recent ratification of the US-Philippines Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. EDCA revived the role of the Philippines as launching pad for US wars. What is particularly threatening is the 4 new military bases are closest to Taiwan and the others are within or along West Philippine Sea or South China Sea, which are the flashpoints behind US moves against China. In the face of this, the global peace wave is one of the efforts calling for peace by fighting war. In connection, it is essential that at the center of the fight against war is the struggle against imperialism, principally US imperialism. The fight against war includes the fight for the closure of US and other foreign military bases, against nuclear arms and other weapons of mass destruction, against economic wars or sanctions, and for the dismantling and termination of military alliance and agreements. Philippine Initiative on Global and Critical Issues, or PHIL Initiative, joins this annual international event, which is an international solidarity for peace against war and militarism. For this portion, I would like to request organizations and individuals from the Philippines to open their cameras and join me as we close this part. These are the many anti-war and human rights defenders from the Philippines. On behalf of all the participating organizations and individuals, thank you and mabuhay. We want everyone watching now to continue sharing and engaging in the video of this 24-hour peace wave and join us in our call to end imperialist wars and militarism. Kapayapaan. This is the Filipino term for peace, and this is our fight song. Would like to turn over the program now to Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. And to all our kababayans who contributed and participated today, thank you so much to the Philippines and its regional partners. The cultural performances we have seen today were actually filmed, especially for Peace Wave. So those theaters that you see a while ago were produced by those youth that you have seeing on the screen and to the experienced people in theater. Thank you so much to all the cultural artists who done their efforts and initiative for peace. We also quickly thank our IPB co-president, Cora Pabros and Rodel Faustino, for your support in making this Peace Wave possible for this part. And thank you also to my brother, Jello Clemente, for our tech support from the Philippines, who's also helping us since part 7. Thank you. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. Maraming salamat sa pagmamahal para sa kapayapaan. Thank you for your love for peace. Now we will pass our Peace Wave to part 10. I think Rasa and the team from part 10 is also already in call. We will just momentarily stop the recording and streaming so we can prepare for the part 10. So stay tuned, everyone. And thank you so much for all your contributions so far.